All I ever wanted was to see you smiling.
A tennis forehand is a motor skill where the aim is to successfully hit a tennis ball over the net and land it within the constraints of the opposite court during a play. It is performed voluntarily and it requires full body movement. A beginner will not automatically know the fundamental components of a tennis forehand. Therefore, learning the skill must be achieved before a successful forehand can be performed. A tennis forehand requires a large amount of body movement in order for a successful shot to be achieved. Therefore, it is classed as a gross motor skill. It has a distinguished beginning and end location. Therefore, this particular skill would be classed as a discrete motor skill. The skill is designed for a game situation against a player. This skill is classified as an open skill as it is performed in a changing environment. Continuous part practice is widely used in teaching beginners tennis, as it involves isolating different parts of the skill and then building upon those skills. For example, the breakdown of a tennis forehand is the preparation phase, the execution phase, and the follow-through. Once each phase has been taught correctly, they can be combined to make the skill flow continuously. The preparation phase involves the initial stance and the grip. As the ball is projected towards you, your feet move accordingly so that the opposite foot steps in front of your back foot, causing your body to move to a 45-degree angle, bringing your racket back so that your handle of your racket is following the ball's movement towards you. Have the racket in a cocked position behind your back. Cue words can be the center of a lesson when teaching a beginner. In the preparation phase, cue words could include handshake grip, or keep wrist firm, point at the ball, or foot first. These cue words are important to allow correct technique to be taught to the learner. The execution phase involves maintaining eye contact with the ball, swinging the racket in a smooth single motion towards the ball, then striking the ball. Cue words used could be base to ball, watch the ball then hit the racket, or hit the ball in the middle. These cue words are important for hand-eye coordination and follow-through, and to get the most power and control out of the shot. The final movement of this skill is the follow-through, which ensures eye contact is maintained with the point where the racket struck the ball. Follow through the hit by swinging the racket diagonally across the body so the handle of the racket is above your shoulder. Once the shot has been accomplished, get the body back in the initial stance position ready for another shot. A cue word used could include low to high, referring to the follow-through of the racket after hitting the ball, ensuring the racket finishes above the shoulder. Self-talk can be a large contributing factor for motivation and learning, in that it will help for improving in technique, skill, and self-efficacy. Cue words are a prime example for incorporating self-talk. To further progress the task, the ball is now incorporated. Harley is able to drop the ball in front of him at his own pace and timing, however is encouraged to hit the ball before the second bounce. As coach, I always provide a demonstration first. As you can see in this video, Harley has now improved his technique and is at a more advanced stage. To further increase the difficulty, a ball can now be thrown from a short distance away. This involves Harley to concentrate harder with timing and accuracy of hitting the ball, keeping in mind the correct technique of this skill. A more difficult task then involves throwing the ball from over the net, as you can see in this video. Introducing a second racket can further increase the level of difficulty, as training can become more game specific. However, as the second racket has not been involved before, training has to start simple, further progressing to a more difficult level. This can be further understood by referring to the training program. Every athlete learns skills differently, either through reading, writing, orally, or kinesthetically. The learning styles used is based upon the athlete. Therefore, in this case, Harley learns best through visual demonstrations and cue words, and thus this is the feedback that will be provided. This type of feedback will assist the learner in developing a visual understanding of the movement pattern needed to execute the skill. All methods of feedback should be delayed for a few seconds in order for the athlete to acknowledge their own results first. Research suggests that verbal cues should be incorporated into a learning intervention, as verbal cues assist in directing the learner's attention to key aspects of the movement task, as they found subjects who were exposed to visual and verbal cues performed a novel task better than those who received reduced forms of cueing. Exercises should incorporate additional focusing strategies to a training situation, some of which include setting tasks that require a fast reaction. Some learners aim at small targets and make the learner focus on fine details of the tennis ball, such as a written number, as you can see. These attentional strategies have been progressively introduced throughout the training program to assist in more effective skill development. Mental practice has been described as a non-invasive, repetitive, task-specific practice method in which the function of the movement is rehearsed in the mind of the learner. Mental practice was therefore encouraged due to its benefits to learning. In a study, they found that positive motivational beliefs, high scores of intrinsic goals, task evaluation, and self-efficacy is correlated to a greater degree of learning. Therefore, it would be imperative to determine the learner's goals and to assess how interested they are in the sport to foster motivation. The learner's intrinsic goals were to become proficient with the tennis forehand so he would be able to maintain a rally between the opponent. To measure an increased level of performance, a retention test will be conducted 1 week post-training to assess the learned effort of the skill. After the first session, where the foundations of a tennis serve will be taught, the test will be conducted to compare the pre- and post-training results. The test involved the player standing in the middle of the court and being thrown 28 tennis balls. Immediately after the balls had been thrown, the instructor would either say back, left or right, meaning back half of the court, left or right service boxes, and the learner must hit the ball in the appropriate box for the successful shot to be made. Not only does this test forehand skill, but also improves reaction time to the stimulus presented. This has a positive transfer effect, as a quick decision needs to be made in a game situation. As estimated, the initial test results showed the learner to be at a low standard. However, over the course of 4 weeks, results were predicted to only increase. Scores were tailored on a two-way system. Failure to clear the net or landing outside the service area received a 0, and a 1 was awarded with the learner being able to land within the scoring zone. Knowledge of performance should be the main topic of feedback, as it is perceived as more important in the early stages of development. Players can visually see the result of a poorly hit ball, however it is harder for them to discern a performance-based error. Research showed that knowledge of results feedback after every practice trial was detrimental to motor skill learning compared to when feedback was less frequent. Thus, augmented feedback will be given within the first week of training program, as the skill is new to the learner and they will need direction. This skill will be achieved in a summary format after 7 executions of the forehand. This assists with preventing dependency of feedback. Random and serial practice tend to provide better results compared with blocked practice. Random practice involves the athlete practicing skills in a non-sequential order. This type of training is believed to be more sport-specific for a game situation, as no 2 shots are ever the same during play. A beginner needs to develop an understanding of the skill by breaking the task down into smaller, more manageable components. This can be understood in Fitz and Posner's 3-stage model. The learner's goals over the course of the 4 weeks are to understand the movement pattern of the tennis forehand, develop a proficient forehand with minor faults, and apply the learnt skill to a novel context.